Hello, and welcome to my review of a book so big they had to publish it in two parts in England. We're talking about A Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin, the third book in A Song of Ice and Fire, and not to give away my feelings, one of the best fantasy books ever published, ever will be published, one of the best stories, some of the best characters, the most iconic moments in all of fantasy take place within this book. It was a pleasure to reread this motherfucker. It was amazing. If you do enjoy, please do like, please do subscribe, and let's get down to just the brilliance. I have to kind of say that I read these in their two parts. The book is so long that because it is split in two parts in England, I thought I'll read the first part, allow myself to kind of digest that, and then go into the latter half. And that works amazingly because the first half is fantastic. It has a lot going on. Then you hit the second part, and possibly it is a non-stop barrage for 500 pages of unputdownable, iconic moments that I am actually at a loss at what happens in A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons, because everything I was thinking of, I was like, oh, that happens in a later book. It all fucking happens in this book. This tiny boy has probably, let's think about it. I don't want to name them, but there's definitely, I'd say five of the most iconic moments in all of pop culture and fantasy happen within these 500 pages. Once every 100 pages, you're being treated to some of the best fantasy ever written. I cannot stress to you how, yeah, this is not only the best book in A Song of Ice and Fire to date, it is also just one of the best books. You know what? Maybe I'll make this all spoiler. Because fuck it. Let's talk about it. So the end of the prologue, this is all spoilers now. I've changed my mind. I'm going to put it up front, but this is all spoilers. The ending of the prologue, where you have, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Chet. Great name choice. So Chet's a cunt, and he's a character that's brought over from previous books, and it's this idea of what they're going to do, and the ending where it describes, like, where he's talking about Piggy, he's talking about Sam, the idea that Sam's going to piss himself, and then when he hears that third horn, it's just the ending of that chapter, the chills you get, the fear that is inside Sam, the understanding and dawning terror, and then the piss leaking down Chet's leg. It's morosely, it's comic, it's ironic, it's terrifying. It balances all those things together so well. It alludes to what's going to happen later. He has such a way with prologues. What normally is quite a mysterious thing, or sometimes leaves a bit wets your palate, but you need more. They basically function as little mini short stories in Game of Thrones, and they do so much. And then you hit Jaime Lannister, first chapter. You're setting the way expertly, because talk about one of the best characters in all of fantasy. And you can't say that beforehand, because in not only is he set up to be an antagonist, he's also barely present in the first two books. He is a prisoner of war in the second one, but you can't really go into it too much. And then you hit the third book, and talk about a character, a reflective character, where you learn more about them, they're learning more about themselves. It feels like a very conducive environment in terms of like the journeying he has with Brienne. It's all fucking amazing. The thing I love about Jaime Lannister the most, without a doubt, is that he never changes. Like he changes in the sense of how he outwardly presents, like the relationship with Brienne, how that changes, but on the inside he has similar feelings, and even when he is being kind, he does it in such a callous, curt way that feels accurate to in terms of what he was raised like, etc., etc. So there's a part in this book where Jaime Lannister's like, oh, well, Brienne's a strong woman, she could take a couple of rapes. That is a fucking horrendous sentence. I remember reading it and being like, that is so fucked up. And the most fucked up thing about it is that, you know, from Jaime Lannister's point of view, he's like, I really respect this person. She means a lot to me. but that's how he puts it across, because the environment in which he's raised, the environment he's lived in, is just all fucked. And the society hates him for something that he was completely justified in doing, and being the Kingslayer. Like, everything there. Jaime Lannister, one of the best characters ever to exist, and we'll get to what eventually happens. But in terms of my other viewpoints, John on my first read through a decade ago, I loved John. This time, he's one character that I found myself really just skimming over. Um, John, I found no interest apart from, I don't know, until after the wall, like after the battle. When we have the vote and everything for the new Lord Commander, when that happens, I was weirdly then super invested in John. Before that, I was just like, I think it's because I've watched the show, I've read the book, and I was kind of like, fuck it, fuck John. Like, I don't know, John was just, he was mopey. Him talking about Ygritte, it's a problem for Martin. Is if characters can stop thinking about their mum and dad and shit whilst they're trying to bang, that would do a lot to help me care about John. Like, he's such a whiny bastard where he's like, I have sworn my vows, I will not bed with this woman. And then he does, and then all the way through he's like, my honour has been lost this day. And I don't know, I just find it very cringe, because my issue is that Jaime is doing the exact same thing in a lot of ways that John is doing, just in a lot more interesting ways later on in the book, in the sense of realigning where he stands and everything, questioning who he is, all that kind of jazz. And I think Jaime is just a far better explored character than John. I read this at the start of the month. I feel like we can ignore that, and instead let's just go through all of the iconic moments in the second half of this book. Beginning with the Red Wedding. The Red Wedding is also wonderfully foreshadowed in the first half. The stuff that you never pick up on that first read. The references to the Rains of Castamere, the references to all kinds of things, that the illusions of the fact that Bolton is married to Frey, all of this stuff that when you look back on it, you're like, yeah, that tide had fucking turned before you got there. And I loved the exploration of Catelyn and Rob's relationship when he brings back that wife, when he brings back Westerling, it is Westerling, Jane Westerling, when he brings her back, and Catelyn's in a dialogue in the sense of outwardly, I understand, let's move on, and then inside, she's like, how the fuck did you do this? How have you fucked this up so bad? And I like that cross-play, the sacrifice of her mother in the sense of being willing to you forgive him for his mistakes. And then the Red Wedding. Iconic for a reason, absolute wild shit. The absolute tragedy of, okay, so Arya is a character who I'm only going to reference in the sense of the Red Wedding. Arya's great. I love Arya in this book. Her relationship with the Hound, just to quickly say that as well, impeccable. Love them two together. I love how it develops. It develops Sandor in a lot of ways because of the differences of how he treats Arya to Sansa. Nevertheless, Red Wedding, beautiful combination. The going between Arya as she's coming in and from Catelyn on the inside, those two viewpoints, it creates such an iconic moment that you think you're safe. You're like, there's absolutely no way that anything else can happen in this book, because that is one of the biggest twists, one of the biggest shake-ups. You've killed two of our main characters, one of the kings, someone that we have followed, someone that we want to follow. You have killed him off, and you're like, there we go. After this, we're going to be dealing with the aftermath of this. Fucking Purple Wedding comes and pisses on those ashes. The Purple Wedding is also insane. I haven't even mentioned Tyrion marrying Sansa is one of the most tragic. It almost made me cry, that scene of when you're from Sansa's perspective, and she's dealing with everything she's doing, and then she says something to Tyrion, and you're not even in his viewpoint, and you know how much it would hurt him, and you know how much these two people are conflicting because they are both being abused so horribly, and that's a heartbreaking scene. So then you get to the Purple Wedding. Olenna Tyrell's being based as hell. She's had one of the best introductions of a character. It's all there. Joffrey is terrible to Tyrion as usual, and then Joffrey fucking dies. God bless. We love to see it. The choking little rat. I like that because it's a great job in terms of Tyrion relays the fact that Sansa's constantly going to the Kingswood, and so no, the Godswood, and so we know if she's going to the Godswood, she's seeing Dontos, everything's being set up for the escape at the wedding. And we don't know what's going to happen there, but we know something is in terms of her getting away. And I like that we never see it from Sansa's perspective. We just so know Tyrion's like, she's going to the Godswood because she fucking hates the Lannisters. Understandably, I'm not going to invade her privacy. That wraps up that all for like, it allows that suspension of, I don't need to inform and let people really guess at what's going to happen or know, because each character can fill in the gaps for the other to allow a surprise to take place. Masterful storytelling once again. It's really impeccably fucking done. So then, after the purple wedding, my man Tyrion gets locked up. Sansa's gone. And this is where we get the iconic trial. I'm not going to go too much into the trial itself because I think the important thing to me in the trial is the conversation between Jaime and Tyrion at the end, because alongside Tyrion and Sansa, it's one of the saddest scenes I've ever read in a book. Once again, because of the masterful storytelling in creating both of these characters separately. So what one says to the other, you know the reaction of the other person internally because you feel like you've learned to know them. So when Jaime lets Tyrion out, and then Jaime thinks that he, in his head, is doing what needs to be done. He is repenting for his past sins. He is opening up himself up to his family. He's trying to account for his mistakes, and he tells Tyrion, and it's at the exact point that Tyrion does not need to hear this. And so, yeah, the moment when Jaime says, "Did you kill my son?" and Tyrion is like, "I fucking loved every minute of it. I fucking killed him," and walks off. You know that like it tells you from Tyrion's perspective that that shifting emotion of like that was wrong. I don't want to tell him that. I resent. I hate myself for telling him that. But then he keeps on going because his brothers hurt him so badly. And then you know from Jaime's perspective, he was so confident in the fact that Tyrion did not do it. He was so confident in the sense of yeah, his honor to his family, his respect for his brother. He he's trying to repent for his sins, etc. He it all builds up to this point for him, and he gets shat on. And you know that going into the next book, there must be so much inner conflict in the sense of his confidence has been rattled to the core in terms of what he thinks, because he never has that moment of knowing that Tyrion didn't do it. He's there and he's like, ah, oh, that was fucking wrong. Shit. What else am I wrong about? What am I like? Who can I trust if I can't trust Tyrion, the only person I thought that I knew properly? How does this make me feel? The fact that I still am letting him go, even though he's just admitted to murdering my son. Why do I care so little about my son, etc.? There's so much intricate play done into that it's never addressed from his point of view at that moment. It's just left to the imagination of the reader. Is heartbreaking. And then of course Tyrion, in one of the most, following a miserable scene, does one of the most based fucking things, which is in the second book, I believe it is. Shay talks about the idea of like, you could just kill your father and take his place, and Tyrion says those who murder their family are cursed by both gods and men, and it's set up a whole book before, which in terms of Game of Thrones books is like 1,000 fucking pages. It's set up that allusion to the fact that that's going to happen, and then yeah, he goes in. Fantastic scene of him calling Tisha a whore, Tywin calling him a whore, and Tyrion being like, "Say it again, I'll fucking shoot you." And you know from Tywin as well, like the way he does it, where he talks, he allows, he thinks that he's kind of, if I just keep talking in an authoritative voice, Tyrion will calm down, he'll buckle under the pressure of me, and then he does it. At the same moment, he stands because he's going to be intimidating, he's going to tower over him. In that moment, he says it, and Tyrion's, you can tell the change that's happened in Tyrion there. When he fucking blasts the cunt. And loved it. Amazing. And then what? Then we get down to the, possibly, I think, the creepiest relationship in all of Game of Thrones, which, let me tell you, that's fucking impressive. Also, I know I keep on saying Game of Thrones. I mean A Song of Ice and Fire. Eat my ass. Yeah, in A Song of Ice and Fire, having the creepiest relationship is very impressive. And that is, without a doubt, Littlefinger and Sansa is a abominably creepy. Oh god, it is the worst. And then, of course, epilogue. No, it's not the epilogue. Last chapter of the book. The whole downfall of Liza Aaron, the unnecessarily fucked up, like just the unnecessarily manipulative way Littlefinger's like, I've only ever loved one woman, and uh, and she's like, only me, only Cat. Fucking pushes her. That is unnecessary. You're about to murder this woman. There's no need to do like a like it's such a narrative line. It's such a storytelling line that it's believable because it's coming from Littlefinger, and he's probably planned this fucking like not even that specific moment, but the idea of it. He seems like the type of guy that rehearses shit to himself. Like I know I do, but he very much seems like he's in the shower being like, man, one day I'm gonna push her down the fucking moon door. What would it be like? What would I say? What would be my one liner? That's kind of Littlefinger's vibe. And then an epilogue. An epilogue which also changes the boundaries of what we're anticipating moving forward. Because what the fuck? Lady Stoneheart, fucking Catelyn Stark is alive and kills that motherfucking Frey. And the description of her, like her face, where she's raked her face open, and the tears of blood and everything, and her hair being half gone and brittle white, her face being like pudding and milky. You cannot lose that image. It's so perfectly done. And yeah, how does all of that, everything I've just talked about pretty much, happen in that many pages? That is insane. There is no way I will not have it be said that A Storm of Swords is one of the best fantasy books ever written. Definitely one of the most iconic for moments. The Red Wedding, Purple Wedding, Trial, Murder of Tywin Lannister, Out the Moon Door. There's so much. So if you did enjoy, please do like, please do subscribe. The read along is still going on, so if you want to join for go through all of them on a reread, or if you're joining for Feast for Crows and Dance for Dragons, feel free to hit up the Discord in the description. If not, please do like, please do subscribe. And as always, have a nice rest of your day.